Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out an incredibly cool team in the Ultra Premier Cup, the Triple Close Combat team. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now the team consists of a Machamp on the lead, running Close Combat instead of Cross Chop, Ursaring as the save switch, and Staraptor as the closer. This is definitely not a team I'd recommend for climbing, but it does lead to some incredibly fun games. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the Triple Close Combat team in action in the Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a terrible lead Machamp into Trevenant, throwing one counter and then gonna save switch into Ursaring, and the opponent responds with a Shadow Swampert. Swampert is gonna fire off the Hydro Cannon. This will do a ton of damage, but Ursaring should be able to tank it. Ursaring deep in the red, farming up very close to the back-to-back close combats, firing off the first one, close combat, gets the shield, and able to reach a second close combat. That is massive. Ursaring is going to be able to grab both shields from the Shadow Swampert, and this now potentially sets up shields down Staraptor to close the game. Hydro Cannon is going to land, dealing a ton of damage, and Swampert is able to reach Hydro Cannon number 2. We are going to see a shield from the Machamp. Machamp looking to continue to farm. Opponent is going to send in Trevenant, and now Trevenant is locked in against the Staraptor. Staraptor absolutely walls Trevenant, as the best thing they can throw in this matchup is a single resistant Seed Bomb. Staraptor is going to farm up, fire off the Brave Bird. Brave Bird easily one-shots the Trevenant, and in the back, there's a Walrein. Walrein is going to be met with a close combat. This close combat will hit for massive super effective damage, getting the Walrein into the red. And now it's all up to Machamp to try and close out the game. Machamp is very low on HP. Can Machamp do it? Machamp farming up, in comes the Swampert, and Machamp has the back-to-back close combats loaded. First one takes out the Swampert, and the second one is loaded for massive overkill, taking out the Walrein, and that is a good game. Picking up a great lead in the next match, leading Machamp into the opponent's Shadow Snorlax. Opponent will save switch into Kingdra, and they're going to stay in with the Machamp and go straight for close combat. Now, Kingdra can comfortably tank a cross chop, but it can definitely not comfortably tank a close combat. In comes the Ursaring. Ursaring will be able to absorb the energy from the Kingdra, which is only able to make it to an Octazooka. Octazooka does not get the debuff, and that is quite nice, as now Ursaring has loaded energy and should be incredibly threatening to the Snorlax, and that's exactly what the opponent is going to bring in. Ursaring farming up and going for the close combat. Decision time for the opponent. They're going to commit the shield. Ursaring farming up and able to reach close combat number 2. Are they willing to double shield? Yes, they are. Opponent is protecting the Snorlax, but they're not going to be able to lick down, so they're forced to fire off a charge move. Just going to let the Ursaring go. At this point, Ursaring has done its job, and in the back, it's a Shadow Charizard, and Charizard is about to learn the meaning of pain from this Rock Slide. Dragon Claw gets the shield, and now Machamp gets to absolutely one-shot Charizard with the Rock Slide. In comes Staraptor, and Staraptor will make quick work of this Shadow Snorlax thanks to the close combat. Body Slam does so much damage, but Staraptor able to hang on, reach the close combat. Close combat will hit for massive super effective damage and secure the win. Bit of a tough lead in the next match, Machamp into Shadow Dragonite. Dragonite, of course, will be able to apply a ton of pressure to Machamp, and this Dragonite is actually running Dragon Tail. Opponent is going to continue to farm up and let Machamp reach the Rock Slide. Rock Slide will hit for massive super effective damage if it lands. Opponent commits the shield, goes for the farm down, and that's going to cost them. Machamp reaches Rock Slide number 2. That's going to take out the Dragonite, and the opponent loses so much energy. And now the opponent is going to send in a Alolan Golem. Golem is going to get the farm down. Golem will be met with the Ursaring. Ursaring continuing to farm. Wild Charge will do a ton of neutral damage here. Lets it through. It's the Wild Charge, and that's going to get the Ursaring incredibly low. Ursaring will commit the shield, looking to farm up to the back-to-back close combats here. We'll have to see if the opponent switches, and they do as they bring in Aggron. This is not great. Close combat is going to get the shield, and now it's all up to Staraptor. Can Staraptor close out this game? Staraptor reaches the close combat. This will be one-shot in the Aggron, and the question is, can Staraptor survive the rollouts? Rollout is a very low damage fast move, and Staraptor is able to hang on. Close combat, nuking the Alolan Golem, and that is a good game. Dream lead in the next match, Machamp into Aurorus. Opponent will need to immediately save switch out of here, and they do, into their own Machamp. This is definitely a situation where having access to Cross Chop would be quite nice. They're going to let the Cross Chop through. That does quite a bit of damage, and going to send in the Staraptor. Staraptor hopefully will be able to shield a Rock Slide and then fully farm down, although Machamp may just go straight Cross Chop. But Machamp does go for the Rock Slide, and that is a potential win con, because now Staraptor leaves with double close combats loaded to absolutely wreck the Aurorus. Aurorus is going to respect the close combat, but they're going to have to shield twice, as there's another close combat loaded. Aurorus is going to double shield and get the farm down, and now Aurorus will be met with the Machamp, goes for the close combat, but it's caught onto Trevenant. That is absolutely terrible. Now in comes Ursaring. Ursaring able to hit for super effective damage with the Shadow Claws, and Ursaring should be able to tank one, shield one, and farm all the way down and leave with the close combat, but instead, Ursaring is going to fire off the Play Rough, not wanting to take any additional damage. In comes Aurorus. Aurorus continues to farm. Aurorus does have a decent amount of energy here. This is going to be close. Weather Ball gets shielded. Ursaring wins CMP, and that will be game over. Close combat vanquishes Aurorus as Ursaring slams the door. Terrible lead in the next match, Machamp into Gallade. Immediate save switch into Ursaring. Gallade is going to farm up a bit and then send in Ampharos. Before Ampharos is able to reach a move, Ursaring is going to strike first with the close combat. Close combat does get a shield, and Ampharos is going to fire off their move right away. Ursaring is going to let that go, and the Thunder Punch is going to KO. And now in comes Machamp. The downside is even if Machamp gets a pretty big energy lead, its energy is not useful whatsoever against the Gallade. Machamp is going to continue to farm and fire off the close combat. Close combat will easily KO, and it's all up to Staraptor to try and win this game. In comes Staraptor into the Gallade. Gallade is going to start firing off charge moves, and we do see a shield from the Staraptor. Even a Leaf Blade would do a ton of damage. Staraptor continuing to farm. Gallade goes for another Leaf Blade. Staraptor, already below half health, has to start shielding. What does the opponent have in the back? They're staying in here. Maybe they're weak. In the back, they have Venusaur, and there is life. Staraptor going for the Brave Bird. That gets the shield. Staraptor able to hang on. This Brave Bird will absolutely one-shot the Venusaur. Moving into the next match, picking up a bit of a tricky lead, Machamp into Shadow Swampert. Shadow Swampert does not have a lot of fast move pressure in this matchup, but it hits incredibly hard, as we do see a CMP tie on the close combat. Machamp going straight for it, and it one-shots. Opponent is going to send in their Charizard, going to bank some energy, and then bring in the Ursaring. Ursaring definitely not going to appreciate a Blast Burn here, lets it through, and the Blast Burn one-shots. That is really not good, as now it's all up to Machamp and Staraptor to clutch in the back. In comes Lapras. Lapras is going to be firing off a Surf, and we do see a shield from the Machamp. Machamp probably going to want to build up close to the back-to-back close combats here. Going to fire off a Rock Slide, as Rock Slide will not debuff. Rock Slide is going to land. Machamp is going to get the farm down and leaves with a Rock Slide loaded to threaten the Charizard. So this is all going to be up to Staraptor now. Can Staraptor clutch? Staraptor is farming up quite a bit of energy. Charizard is at a move. Staraptor commits the shield. Is it the Blast Burn? It's a Dragon Claw, and that is not good, because a Blast Burn will easily KO, and the Shadow Shiny Charizard gets to it here. Blast Burn vanquishes the Staraptor, and that is a good game. Same leads in the next match, but this time the Swampert is not Shadow. Like before, going to stay in with Machamp and go straight for the close combat. Close combat won't quite KO here, but it will do a ton of damage. Close combat is able to land, and we see the switch and catch onto Staraptor. Hydro Cannon will still hurt here, but the opponent full sent the Earthquake. What a catch. Staraptor going for the close combat and is able to win CMP over the Walrein. This close combat would hit for massive super effective damage as the opponent lets it through. And honestly, at this point, you can just let the Staraptor go, because Staraptor has done its job. Opponent goes for the undercharge to get a little bit of extra energy, but it's not going to let them reach a move versus the Machamp. In the back, the opponent has a Charizard, and Charizard is going to fire off the Dragon Claw. We do see the shield being used by the Machamp. Machamp getting close to double Rock Slide. Slide. Firing off the first one, we are going to see a shield from the Charizard here, as Charizard will definitely not appreciate a Rock Slide. We see Rock Slide number 2 being fired off, and this looked like a CMP tie. Rock Slide gets the shield, it's a CMP tie, and at this point, I think you just have to trust in Ursaring. Dragon Claw is going to KO, in comes Ursaring, and now it's Ursaring versus the world. Ursaring only has resisted charge moves, but Ursaring does hit pretty hard. Ursaring is going to shield up the Dragon Claw, farm up, and then go for the Play Rough. Is this going to be enough to KO? This is going to be close. Play Rough, plus a Shadow Claw, able to KO. Farms down the Swampert, and barely gets the win. Moving into the next match, picking up a tough lead Machamp into Charizard. With Wing Attack, this matchup is pretty awkward at even energy, so we are going to see a save switch into Ursaring. Ursaring is going to farm up. This is enough for the Blast Burn. Decision time, do you call a bait? Lets it go, and it's the Blast Burn, and down goes Ursaring. Things going from bad to worse. At this point, Charizard is just going to fire off Dragon Claws to get chip damage, and Machamp is going to be forced to start shielding. This is not a great spot to be in. Opponent able to reach Dragon Claw number 2. Machamp is double shielding, and from here, this is going to be an incredibly difficult game, as the opponent still has 2 shields, and they still haven't shown their second or third Pokemon. They're just going to let the Charizard go and send in Gengar. Gengar will be met with a Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to get shielded. In comes Staraptor, and in the back, the opponent has Walrein. And with no shields remaining for the Staraptor, this unfortunately is going to be game over. Icicle Spear just does so much damage. Staraptor able to reach the last second close combat, but Gengar will be able to close out this game. Walrein barely able to survive. Machamp able to get the farm down, but Gengar will be able to reach a move. This Shadow Punch will easily take out the Machamp and secure the game. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, Machamp into Articuno. This is a battle of neutral fast moves, but Machamp, of course, does have access to the double super effective Rock Slide. Articuno is going to strike first, going for the Icy Wind. Machamp is going to let that through. Machamp, farming up, accidentally throws on alignment, and gives the Articuno an entire extra Ice Shard. Articuno commits the shield, looks for the farm down, but Machamp says no. Able to reach Rock Slide number 2. This Rock Slide is going to get the shield, and now we see a pivot into Ursaring. Ursaring is going to be met with loaded energy from the Articuno. Articuno goes for the Icy Wind, and now it's going to send in Poliwrath. Poliwrath is definitely not going to appreciate this Play Rough, even if it is debuffed. Play Rough is going to do significant damage, and it ends up being a CMP tie. Honestly, you can probably just let this go and then trust in the Staraptor, and that's exactly what they're going to do, as Staraptor with energy is incredibly deadly. Staraptor will commit the shield. Poliwrath goes for the Scald. Unfortunately, Scald does lower Staraptor's attack. And now, back in comes the Articuno. Articuno will be met with a Brave Bird. Down goes Articuno in the back. They have Talonflame, going to farm up, bring in Machamp to reset the attack drop, and now Staraptor in a great spot to close out the game. Talonflame goes for the Flame Charge, farming up, and going to return fire with a Brave Bird. Brave Bird takes down the Talonflame, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, leading Machamp into another Swampert, but this one is going to be Shadow. As before, Machamp is going to stay in this matchup, farming up and going straight for the close combat, hoping the opponent decides to let the first charge move through. Close combat does get shielded, and that is unfortunate. Swampert is at the back-to-back Hydros here. Machamp is going to commit the shield. This is a bit tough, because when Swampert throws the second Hydro, you're kind of forced to double shield if you want to preserve the Machamp. Machamp is going to fire off a close combat, but we see a beautiful catch onto a Gyarados. Very nicely done by the opponent, as the opponent is now going to be met with Ursaring. Ursaring, farming up, is going to have to take damage from the Gyarados. Gyarados fires off the Aqua Tail. That does considerable damage. Ursaring, farming up very close to the back-to-back close combats, and is going to fire off the first. This is resisted damage, but it is enough to KO. Opponent is going to send in Walrein into another close combat. This close combat is going to get shielded, and now shields are down. In comes the Machamp. Machamp farming up. Opponent sends in the Swampert, and Swampert is going to fire off a move. This is not great, and now it's all up to Staraptor. Staraptor going for the farm down, barely able to get it, and Staraptor should be able to pull this off. Icicle Spear hits for super effective damage. Staraptor should barely be able to hang on and reach the close combat. So many close combats thrown. This one takes out the Walrein, And that is a good game. All in all, these were some incredibly fun games. Teams where all three Pokemon share the same charge move are some of my favorite teams to shoutcast, so I had a lot of fun watching these battles. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible, so thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.